Hello children, welcome to today's session. In your previous class, we have started a new concept, that is heredity and evolution. And in that class, we have seen the basic concepts involved in heredity and important terms. And in today's class, we are going to see few more important terms involved in the chapter, that is heredity and evolution. So coming to today's topic, that is heredity part 2. So here are few important terms that come every now and then. Very frequently these terms are seen in your coming classes. So please concentrate on these terminologies, right? So please, I would like all of you to open your running notes and note down the important points. So coming to the first important term, that is the chromosome. So I told you earlier, like a chromosome, it is a thread-like structure in the nucleus of a cell formed of DNA which carries the gene. So here you know that you have a cell, and in that cell you have nucleus, and nucleus is composed of in the nucleus you have chromosomes, and within the chromosomes you have a DNA, and within the DNA you have genes. Okay, so this is what is chromosome. And coming to an important term, another important term, gene. So gene, it is a unit of DNA on chromosome which governs the synthesis of one protein that controls a specific characteristic of an organism. So here, like I told you in your previous class, gene, it is nothing but a segment in the DNA present in the chromosome. And here the function of gene is, it controls the synthesis of the protein, in which this protein in turn it is controlling a specific characteristic of an organism. So like I will give you a simple example. Like you have like you know that enzymes are made of proteins, right? So here a DNA is helpful in the synthesis of proteins. Now what happens is the gene, so let's take an example of salivary amylase, right? So here the DNA contains information that helps in the production of an enzyme called salivary amylase. So what it will do is, the genes that are responsible for the formation of salivary amylase sends some information that is helpful for the formation of this protein. Now after the formation of this protein, that is the salivary amylase, the salivary amylase is made in such a way that it is helpful in controlling the production of saliva, which is helpful in the process of digestion. Yes or no? So here the gene that is coding the production of salivary amylase, which in turn the genes are affecting the production of saliva also. Okay, so in this way they possess the information that is specific to a specific characteristic of an organism. So that is the function of a gene. And next, coming to dominant gene. So this dominant gene, the name itself tells you dominant. So the dominant, in general language you say a person who is bold, okay, the person who is putting forward, who is putting step first, okay, so that person is usually called as a dominant person, right? So even in case of the genes also, you have a dominant gene. So here the dominant gene, the name itself tells you the gene which is able to express its characteristics. Okay, so coming in detail, the gene which decides the appearance of an organism even in the presence of an alternative contrasting gene is known as a dominant gene. Okay, so here, like, don't get confused, dominant gene, see for example, like if two persons are there, right? If when we are comparing the results between two persons, okay, the one who studies well, obviously he stands first in the class, right? So though two persons are competing, one person is dominant. Okay, so here what I am telling you is the alternative contrasting gene is the second person. Okay, see for example, one more example. Okay, I will tell you in the coming slides what it is. Okay, so dominant one is the one which expresses its characteristic first. Okay, which express its characteristics though it is having an opponent. Okay, that is the alternative contrasting gene, and that is called as a dominant gene. You will understand the concept more clearly like once I give you more examples. And here the dominant gene is always expressed by capital letter. Okay, please remember this. And here you have another important term, that is a recessive gene. So recessive means suppressed. Okay, the gene which gets suppressed in the presence of a dominant gene, and that is called as a recessive gene if there is an absence of the dominant gene, and that time the recessive gene gets expressed. So this recessive gene, it is the gene which can decide the appearance of an organism only in the presence of another identical gene. Okay, so whenever if the other gene is recessive only, that time the first gene will be expressed. If the dominant gene is present in the place of a recessive gene, and that time the dominant gene will be expressed and the recessive will be suppressed. If both the genes are similar, obviously if it is a recessive gene will be expressed, and if it is a dominant gene, the dominant gene will be expressed. And here the recessive gene is expressed, or it is represented by a small letter. Okay, so you will understand what it is. And next, coming to one more important term, that is genotype. So genotype, it is nothing but it is the description of genes present in an organism. So the genotype is the expression of genes. Okay, that this genotype is what do you say? It is done internally and it is not shown externally actually. So here it is the description of genes present in an organism. Genotype is, I told you, like what you say, for example, like when I speak about dominant gene and a recessive gene. Okay, so that is nothing but the genes present within the human body or an organism, and the details about that gene present in an organism, it is nothing but a genotype. So as the classes commences, or as we proceed with the chapter, clearly you will understand what are these terms actually. Just for time being, learn what are the concepts. Okay, and next coming to phenotype. So phenotype, it is the character which is visible in an organism. Phenotype is nothing but which is shown externally, or which is shown physically outside. See for example, you say you can say phenotypically, you say if a person is taller, if a person is shorter, if a person is stout, if a person is thin, all these are phenotypes. Okay, characters that are shown externally. Characters or genes that are responsible for tallness, it is called as genotype. Okay, so that is nothing but genotype and phenotype. Now coming to one more important term, that is first filial generation or F1 generation. So F1 generation, it is nothing but, here we are talking about heredity, and in your next classes we will be seeing the crosses between plants. Okay, so here when two parents cross to produce offspring, their offspring is called as first filial generation or F1 generation. So let's take an example of my own self. Okay, so here my parents, so father, mother, gave rise to me, that is, and I belong to F1 generation, and my children belong to F2 generation. Okay, so here I am belonging to first filial generation, and when the first generation offspring cross among themselves to produce second generation offspring. Okay, so just I am giving you an example, like this is actually we are talking about plants here, but I'm talking about humans. Okay, so here when two parents cross, they give you offspring, that is the F1, and from that F1 generation, if they are crossed, F1 generation offspring, I mean the offspring from the F1 generation are crossed, produces F2 generation offspring. Okay, so that is the difference between first filial generation and second filial generation, F1 and F2. And next is homologous chromosomes. So you know chromosomes. What is this homologous chromosome? So I have shown you the structure of a chromosome. You have a cross mark like structure. Yes, you have an into mark like structure. So that is a chromosome. So homologous means same, similar relation possessing chromosomes are homologous chromosomes. Chromosomes that are similar with respect to their size, position of a centromere. Centromere is nothing but the joining of two two chromosomes, right? So the center part of the chromosome is called as centromere, and length of the arms and position of the genes are also same, and that is called as a homologous chromosome. See, usually homologous chromosomes are actually they occur in pairs. Okay, so usually homologous chromosomes are diploid in nature. So one comes from the father and one comes from the mother. Okay, so it is having one chromosome is having 23 pairs of 23 chromosomes, and the other chromosome that is coming from the mother is having 23 chromosomes. So everything is similar, and this is called as homologous chromosomes. Coming to alleles. So what is this allele? One or more alternative forms of genes on a chromosome, homologous chromosome. So here, like one or more alternative forms is, see, if you see here, this one. Okay, so capital T, small t, it is nothing but yeah, you can see this. So small t and a capital T. So one or more alternative forms of a gene. It is nothing but, you can take this as an example. Okay, see, for example, yes, you know that male is like having what type of genes in that? You have XX chromosomes in female and XY chromosome in male. Okay, so here X individually and Y individually is called as allele. Okay, individual, I mean one of the gamete is called as allele. Okay, so here if you see this T alone is called as allele and this T alone is called as allele. So separately you call it as allele. And this is what is allele, like one or more alternative form. It can be TG or XY or XX, anything. And coming to homozygous. Homo means similar, identical alleles present on a homologous chromosome. So identical alleles, you say, so same alleles, that is either capital T are present, or small t are present on the homologous chromosomes. This is homozygous. And next, coming to heterozygous. Hetero means non-identical. So here non-identical alleles present on a homologous chromosome. So example is, you have non-identical alleles, that is you have one capital T and one small t on homologous chromosome. So you might get a doubt, what is this T? So capital T, it determines the tallness of a plant, and small t, it determines the shortness of a plant. If a plant is taller, that means that the dominant gene is expressed, that is the tallness character is expressed, and that is the reason why the plant is tall. It is usually represented by capital D, I told you earlier, and if small t is present, obviously the plant will be shorter, and there the recessive gene is expressed. Okay, so this is like what is about alleles, so you will understand the concepts more clearly. And next, coming to, and here before starting this concept, so those are the important terms which are very very necessary for you to understand the concepts very clearly. I'm repeating this every now and then, and by this you should understand how important the terms are. Please concentrate on the terms and first learn the terms and then go through the chapter. And next, rules for inheritance of characters, that is traits. I told you what are traits, and here traits are transferred through genes present in the DNA molecule, in the chromosomes present in the nucleus of the cell. I told you earlier. And here what is happening? The inheritance of characters is due to the fact that both the father and mother contributes equal amount of genetic material to the child. I told you all these concepts were discussed in your previous class. I told you if there is an offspring, or if my own self, if I take me as an example, like when my father and mother are contributing their genetic material equally to me. Okay, so I possess a genetic material half from my father and half from my mother, that is 23 chromosomes from my father and 23 chromosomes from my mother, and totally I'll be having 46 chromosomes, okay, to attain my complete DNA structure. And here like that, and for each trait there are two factors, that is one from the father and one from the mother. So obviously the offspring that is produced will have characters from both father and mother. This is nothing but inheritance of character, and this is happening only through the genes. So genes are the ones which are very very important for the transfer of characters, or for the for the inheritance from the parents to the offspring. So this is what is done actually in the inheritance of characters. And here coming to transmission of traits. So what is this transmission of traits? So even the same concept, that is inheritance of characters, the same concepts will be it is expressed here also. So here the characteristics or traits of parents are transmitted to the offspring through genes present on the chromosomes during the process of sexual reproduction. Okay, so as you all know, sexual reproduction involves a male and a female. Okay, and here genes always works in pairs. So for every trait there is a pair of gene, one dominant and one recessive, and each parent passes only one of the two genes of the pair for each characteristic. So here I told you genes are carrying the information. So how does genes work? So genes usually work in pairs. Okay, so here, so every trait there is a, for every trait there is a pair of genes. So for example, my mother is having curly hair and my father is having silky hair. So what happens is, and the gene responsible for the silky hair, let's say it is capital H, and the gene responsible for curly hair, let's say it is the small h. Okay, so now my father, he has usually I told you genes always works in pairs, right? Genes work in pairs. So my father, he possesses genes. He has both genes, that is capital H and one small h. Okay, so since capital H is present, since it is a dominant gene, so his hair is silky in nature. And my mother, she has genes, that is small h and the other recessive allele, that is small h. So if there is a dominant allele, she will get silky hair. So since I told you she's having a curly hair, she is having both the alleles as recessive alleles, and here that is small h. Now what happens is, upon crossing, the dominant allele, that is like what do you say, like upon crossing, what happens is, one gene that is responsible for the nature of hair is transmitted from father, and the one, it can be capital T or it can be small t, any of the genes. Okay, it depends upon what you say, which gene gets separated first. Okay, so it can be of anything, and from mother one gene is separated. Now both the genes combine. If, for example, from father dominant gene, that is capital H, is taken, and from mother obviously both the genes, both are recessive genes, so one is coming out, that is the small h, both combine to give you small h and capital H. Now what will be the nature of my hair? So here I told you capital H is giving you silky hair and small h is giving you curly hair. I told you small letter is always recessive and capital is always dominant, and so obviously I will get silky hair since the dominant gene is expressive. If from father small h is coming out and from mother obviously small h, both of them get crossed and you get HH, obviously I will get curly hair. Since there is no dominant gene, both are recessive genes, I get curly hair. So this is how genes work in pairs. Hope you understood. And though the offspring inherits two genes for each trait from its parent, but the trait shown by the offspring depends on which inherited gene is dominant of the two. So you might be like getting a clarity from the above description, right? So basing on the dominance of the inherited gene, that character will be expressed. So that is how the traits are expressed. And coming to genes again, so when a male gamete fuses with a female gamete during fertilization, they make a new cell called zygote with a full set of genes. I told you, no? So 23 chromosomes from the male and 23 chromosomes from the female. During fertilization, they form a single cell that is called as zygote, which is having full set of genes, that is 46 chromosomes. Okay, so this zygote grows and develops to form a new organism having characteristics from both parents, which it has inherited through the gene. So remember, the one which is dominant is only expressed. Okay, so if I have curly hair, that means that the recessive gene from my mother is expressed, since there is no dominant. Okay, so that is how you decide something which is when it is expressed. And I told you, like, the two genes responsible for a particular characteristic are always present on a corresponding corresponding positions of the pair of chromosomes. They always occur in pairs, and that is how the genes work. So this is the structure of nucleus, and in that you have chromosomes. You can see the left picture. So you can see the right top picture, that is a chromosome. It is a homologous chromosome. You can see the length of the segment is the same. The position of centromere is, I will show you. Wait. So this is the centromere. So the red dot gives you the position of the centromere, and you have two arms which are equal. Okay, and here these arms are equal, and the position and size of the chromosome is also same, and so this is called as a homologous chromosome. Always this occurs in pairs, and here, like if you see the chromosome, in the chromosome, the DNA, this helical structure is present. Okay, so this is the DNA which is present in this chromosome, and you might get a doubt, like a DNA is a very lengthy chain. Okay, So lengthy chain which is very compactly packed in your chromosomes. So how these DNA, see if you take out the DNA from the chromosome, it almost, you can like you can, it really measures from earth till sun almost 600 times you can take thread, I mean DNA chain from the earth to the sun. It almost makes that much distance. So that long the DNA will be, and this much DNA is compactly packed in your chromosome with the help of molecules called as histones. Please note this, histones, Histones. With the help of this special molecules or special proteins called as histones, these proteins help the DNA to compactly to get bound together and get arranged tightly in your chromosome. So this is how DNA is packed inside the chromosome. So here if you observe, so these are the histones. Okay, so you can see in the picture, left picture clearly, these are histones which are helpful for the tight binding of DNA. And here you can see one small segment, okay, one small segment of DNA, it is called as gene. Okay, so usually it is a complicated topic. I think you might have learned in your previous classes itself. You have a DNA is a double helical structure and it is composed of nucleotides, and nucleotides are made up of sugar group, phosphate group, and nitrogen bases, and the nitrogen bases present in that are adenine, cytosine, and you have guanine and thymine. Okay, so base pairing of this gives the helical structure of the DNA. So these things I think you might have learned in your previous classes, so that is the reason I am being a little bit faster. And so as you can see in this picture, see the gene, the segment of the DNA, it is called as gene. And here I can tell you, see for example, so here I would like to give you some more information related to genes. See, so usually genes are made up DNA is useful for the production of proteins. So here proteins usually form the basis for most of what the body does, such as digestion, making energy, and growing. These processes occurring in the body involve various reactions catalyzed by enzymes, and most of these enzymes are proteins. So a gene is essentially regulating the formation of proteins or enzymes. So we can say that DNA is the information source of making proteins in the cell. The information from the DNA in the nucleus is carried out into the cytoplasm through a special molecule called RNA, okay, ribonucleic acid. And this RNA along with the ribosomes participates in protein formation. The information carried by the RNA from DNA is in a specific sequence coding for specific amino acids. I think you are understanding what I am saying. I told you genes responsible for the formation of a protein. This protein is obviously responsible for the formation of the characteristic the characteristic amino acid that is responsible for that sequence. Okay, so this is what I told you previously. And so every protein has a specific sequence of amino acids which in turn is dependent on the special information in a DNA for those amino acids. So any change in this information will change the sequence of amino acids, thus changing the type of protein and bringing the variation, as I told you earlier. So when the genes are coding for the formation of particular protein, and if the information is not carried properly by the RNA, if there is any manipulation in that, obviously the information is not properly passed and there will be a defect in the formation of proteins, and this protein that is specific for another function will not be producing, will not function it in a proper way. Okay, so that time we will get variations as I told you earlier. Like for example, I will give you an example. For example, take garden pea plant. Okay, so here why garden pea plant? I was talking about tall plants and dwarf plants. So here garden pea plant is tall because it has a lot of hormone in its body which makes it tall. The synthesis of this hormone depends on the efficiency of certain enzymes. The hormone will be produced as a result of chemical reactions controlled by enzymes that are proteins. If the enzyme functions efficiently, more hormone is made and the plant is tall. This efficiency depends on efficiency with which DNA information is passed on for protein synthesis. And if the enzymes are non-functional or not proper, hormones will not be produced or will be produced in very less quantity, and this will make the garden pea plant short or dwarf. In a similar manner, different expression of traits in animals as well as humans is determined by their specific gene. So here, did you understand or shall I explain that like more clearly? See, in this what I told you is, take a garden pea plant. So here if the garden pea plant is tall, it means that the synthesis, the hormone releases more. If the hormone releases more, obviously it will grow taller. That means the enzymes responsible for the release of this hormone is efficiently working. Yes or no? So when this efficiency of enzymes increases, when the genes coding for the formation of this enzyme is carried properly, when the information is carried properly, the enzymes will work properly. Okay, in that time the hormone that is released is more, and obviously the plant will be tall. If the plant is short, it means that either the hormones are not produced or the hormones are produced in a smaller quantity that makes the plant shorter. It is due to the information that is responsible for the formation of enzymes is not done properly, and thereby the enzymes become non-functional, and thereby the production of hormone is also reduced, and this is directly showing the effect on the height of the plant. And even it is not only it is seen in plants, even in humans also. If a person is short, that means the hormone is not produced properly. If a person is taller, it means that hormone is produced more. That is the reason, like how transmission of genes is done, or transmission of character is done. So hope you all understood this concept. And coming to the main concept in heredity. So I told you like rules of inheritance, and the person, the scientist who studied the method of inheritance, the rules in inheritance, is father of genetics. He is Gregor John Mendel. So Gregor Mendel was the first scientist to make a systematic study of patterns of inheritance which involved the transfer of characteristics from parents to progeny. So he is the one, he is also called as father of genetics. Please note down this, Gregor Mendel. Okay, he is the person who made a systematic study of patterns of inheritance which involved the transfer of characteristics from the parents to progeny. And after making several experiments on certain plants, he has drawn certain conclusions, and that gave rise to some laws that is called as Mendel's laws of inheritance. Okay, he is the person who gave the laws of inheritance, and these laws will be discussed in your next class. So, like I told you, Gregor Mendel has done few experiments on certain plants, and the plants that are chosen by Mendel are pea plants, and the scientific name for pea plant is Pisum sativum. Okay, so Pisum sativum, it is used for studying inheritance between pea plants because pea plants. So why he opted this pea plants is due to the following reasons. Okay, so pea plants had a number of clear cut differences which were made easy to tell apart. So actually, what he did is he has taken many visible traits. Okay, he has taken height of a plant and color of the pod, color of the pod and shape of the pod, color of the seed, shape of the seed, position of flowers and colors of flowers. These are the traits taken by Mendel, and here the main reason is pea plants usually they had a clear cut difference, okay, which we can identify easily. Like you would say example tall and dwarf pea plants. So we can easily identify these are the clear cut differences. And even these like some pea plants produce round yellow seeds while other produce wrinkled green seeds. So these are also characteristics of the pea plant. That is the reason this is the major difference sorry, this is the major reason why Mendel opted pea plant for his study of inheritance. Another reason is they were self-pollinating. So they don't require any other agent for pollination. So they are self-pollinating. And here next is also Mendel chose pea plant because many generations of pea plants can be produced in a comparatively short span, and their study is much simpler than the animals. So these are the reasons why Mendel opted pea plants for the study of inheritance. So this is actually the beginning of the important concept, that is in the next class we'll be seeing the laws of inheritance, and we'll be seeing, if possible, if time is permitting, we'll be seeing the process also. Unless and until you see the process and all, you will not understand the terminology in a proper way. Okay, so before listening to your next class, please be clear with today's and the previous concepts so that you will understand the concepts in a better way. Okay, so this picture, that is the left picture, is he is the father of genetics, that is Gregor John Mendel, and these are the pea plants. So here you can see the tallness of a tall plant, and this is the short plant. Okay, and here these are the traits considered by the Mendel. So these things I will be showing you and telling you in your next classes. And that's it for today's class. So please solve the worksheet that is given to you, and thank you.